Okay, for example 5, a marine biologist writes this conditional statement. If a seahorse gives birth, then it is male. It is true that among seahorses, only the males can become pregnant and give birth. Should the marine biologist state this is a biconditional in the paper she's writing? So the word biconditional, this is new. If a conditional statement and its converse are both true. So if P then Q is true, and if Q then P is true, then you can say P if, and only if Q. That is the way you write a biconditional statement. So just a general conditional statement is true, and you make a converse out of it, which is also true. You can then say hypothesis if and only if conclusion. And it doesn't really matter what order you put it in at that point, because they're both true. Okay. So the conditional they're giving me to begin with is if a seahorse gives birth, then it is a male. That is the conditional statement they're starting off with. That's the if P then Q, and they're establishing that as a true statement. Okay? So, if we wrote the converse of that, a seahorse gives birth is the hypothesis, it is a male is the conclusion. So, P, Q, if I swap them, I'm going to write if, and then I want to write Q here, right? But with Q, when there's a pronoun involved, like it, you want to use the actual word in the hypothesis part, right? So if a seahorse spelling today. If a seahorse gives or is a male, comma, then we want to write P here, right? A seahorse gives, so it gives birth. That would be the converse of the statement. Again, that's how you make a converse. You find P, you find Q, you swap the two. If Q, then P. So, if a seahorse is a male, then it gives birth. Let's change this to people. Okay. If a person gives birth, then they are female, right? That's how it works. All right, so if we swap the order, if a person's a female, then they give birth. That doesn't sound right, does it? Just because you're a girl doesn't mean you're having a baby, right? Be a lot of unpleasant girls in the world, some happy ones too. But the point is, just because they're male doesn't mean they're giving birth. But if they're giving birth, they have to be male, because that's how it works, right? So I would say this is false. Because just because they're male doesn't mean they're pregnant, and therefore they're not necessarily giving birth. So the counterexample would be an unpregnant male seahorse. Okay. So since the converse cannot be considered to be true, I would say that this is not able to be a biconditional statement. A seahorse gives birth if and only if it is male. Yeah, the original statement is absolutely true, but that statement doesn't have to be true. Therefore, the biconditional status does not take effect.